Should the Las Vegas Golden Knights win one more series and capture the Stanley Cup, the team will make history, on the ice and in sportsbooks. The Golden Knights would be the first expansion team across all major U.S. sports to win a league title in its first season. As such, some bettors undeterred by those mammoth odds may be looking at a big payout. According to the Los Angeles Times, the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook gave the Golden Knights 300-1 odds to win it all before the start of the season, before moving that number to 500-1 to encourage action. The race and sportsbook director says the casino has 13 bets at the 500-1 odds, all for $20 or less. Books around town won't really get buried if the Golden Knights, who are currently awaiting their opponent from the Eastern Conference Finals, do go ahead and win. The book's overall exposure is limited from the preseason wagers, and they might get some buyback in the form of hedges. At least, the books won't get burned as badly as their British counterparts in 2016, when oddsmakers had to pay out on the 5,000-1 odds they set on Leicester City winning the Premier League. Those odds stand as the biggest in history to have paid off. And British bookmakers claimed to have said they'd never give those kinds of odds again, with the understanding that 5,000-1 won't be available again, at least in England. What other giant long shots have paid off in sports history? Take a look. With the Las Vegas Golden Knights on the verge of making history, compare their 500-1 Stanley Cup odds against the longest odds that have paid off 5,000-1. When this line was set at the beginning of the 2016 season, it may well have been oddsmakers trying to make a statement or encourage betting. After all, in 110 previous seasons, and only one other in the Premier League, Leicester City never came within a mile of winning the league title. 1,000-1, almost. FSU quarterback Jameis Winston escapes the grasp of Tigers linebacker Chris Frost in the first half. Just 3 years before the Brits would make a monstrous payout, the Auburn Tigers stunned the college football world, and Las Vegas odds makers, by effectively going from worst to the BCS National Championship game. Auburn, which had gone 3-9 in 2012, bounced back and reached the title game against the Jameis Winston-led Florida State Seminoles. According to the Los Angeles Times, 14 people took the 1,000-1 odds when the season opened. Being in the gambling world, every once in a while you're going to get in situations that might not be favorable for your property. Jay Cornegay, who runs the sportsbook at the LVH, the sportsbook that set the long odds, told the Associated Press. Auburn fell 34-31 in that title game in head coach Gus Malzahn's first season, but 1,000-1 was a pretty swell hedge opportunity, which we imagine a good chunk of that lucky 14 cashed in on. Surely at least one left it ride and shed a tear at the end. 999-1. You didn't even have to bet before the 2011 Major League Baseball season started to get these odds. Yep, with the street. Louis Cardinals 4.5 games back in the wild card race with 15 games to play. Las Vegas odds makers gave the Cardinals 500-1 odds to win the National League and 999-1 odds to win the World Series. That one didn't work out so well. St. Louis mounted a stunning comeback, 10.5 games behind Atlanta in the wildcard race on August 24, and the Cards finished the season 23-9 to clinch a playoff berth on the final day of the season. They went on to beat the Phillies in 5 games in the NLDS, the Brewers in 6 in the NLCS, and the Rangers in 7 games to win their second World Series in 5 years. 500-1 British bookmakers paid out on another set of long odds in 1981, when England was far behind in the third Ashes Test in cricket to Australia. Down by 18 runs, odds on the Brits winning dropped to 500 to 1, but England was able to rally and win. The most interesting note on this bet, according to The Guardian, was that 2 Australian players placed bets, winning a total of £7,500. In total, British bookmakers paid out £40,000 on £25,000 worth of bets. 500 to 1 in a Major League Baseball story of worst to first, the 1987 Minnesota Twins beat the odds by winning the World Series. Okay, so the Kirby Puckett-era Twins weren't the worst team in '87, or even in the AL West, but after going 71 to 91 in 1986, were given 500 to 1 odds to win it all. The Twins did just that, winning the AL West regular season and then going on to beat Detroit in the ALCS and St. Louis in the World Series. It was manager Tom Kelly's first season, and the first of 2 World Series rings he would win with the team. The second came in 1990. 300 to 1 very early in his career in 2003, no one gave much thought to golfer Ben Curtis. But looking back, that was a mistake. Bookmakers gave Curtis, ranked no. 396 at that time, 300 to 1 odds to win the British Open, and those odds only improved to 40 to 1 entering Sunday. Curtis shot a 70 to move into a 5-way tie with the likes of Sergio Garcia, Vijay Singh, and Tiger Woods on Saturday. The final day, of course, was one for the history books. Curtis went -1 in his final round as all the other contenders fell short, including Thomas Bjorn, who led by 3 strokes before finishing bogey double bogey bogey par, to give Curtis a 1-stroke lead. Curtis was the first golfer since Francis Ouimet in 1913 to win his debut major, and it remains his only major victory. 300 to 1, the greatest show on turf, sure got its fans fired up in the 1999-2000 season. The St. Louis Rams Super Bowl 34 victory still stands as the longest odds, 300 to 1, that paid off in the NFL. The story is the stuff of fairy tales. The team signed free agent Trent Green as quarterback, but he promptly suffered a season-ending knee injury. Enter Kurt Warner, he of the oft-told story about bagging groceries before breaking into pro football. Long story short, Warner guided the Rams to a 13-3 regular season, was selected Super Bowl MVP, gave the Rams their only Super Bowl to date, and lined the pockets of fans who are true believers. The Golden Knights will face either the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Washington Capitals for the right to the greatest trophy in all of sports. With the puck set to drop in Game 7 on Wednesday night, the Knights are currently at even money to win the Cup. Depending on whether the Lightning or Caps advance, the Knights might be a slight favorite or slight underdog to seal the deal. Although in Vegas, odds makers may have to tilt that line away from the Knights, given the amount of action they're like to receive on the hometown heroes. Also check out from Sports Handle, 4 tales of disgust for teams.